on behalf of the Capaces Institute of Leadership, I welcome all of you to the Civic Engagement workshop of Vote and Beyond. This is a conversation in where we are going to know more about what is going on with our election system. And today we have three experts that will introduce themselves in a minute. Okay, so déjenme decirles que este es un taller del Instituto de Liderazgo Capaces y estamos hoy aquí para presentar un taller acerca de la votación y qué es lo que sigue después de la votación. Tenemos tres expertas que se van a presentar en un momento. Okay. Y sin decir nada más, déjenme introducirlos a las tres presentadoras. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm Kathleen Carl. This is Lynn Crimshaw. That's Pat Ramirez. And Lynn grew up in San Francisco. Pat grew up in El Paso, and I grew up in Hubbard, Oregon. And I was looking at the population today. So I'm going to choose 1970. Lynn and I were both in college then, and Pat was in middle school, I think. But anyway, so San Francisco had 660,000 people. El Paso had 321,000, and Hubbard had 795. So a lot of differences in that. But all of us have been involved in teaching ESL or bilingual education. When I first met Lynn, she was at Waldo. She was teaching grades 3 through 8, newcomers in all languages, grades 3 through 8. So that's when I first met her. She went on to doing curriculum and teaching, helping teachers become bilingual educators. And she's been involved with that her whole teaching career. Pat was an educator in El Paso, then became an administrator. And I met her when she came to Salem 11 years ago. Oh my gosh. And she was an administrator in the Salem-Keizer district, in the Woodburn district, and in the Forest Grove district, and has been involved teaching second language kids and involved with bilingual education. And I started in Woodburn. I was actually a bilingual teacher, and my Spanish is terrible. So, you know, they were desperate, I think. And then I came to Salem, and I taught ESL in elementary, and then at Waldo, and eventually I became a teacher trainer myself. So anyway, so I'm going to start. I'm going to start with our objectives, which are written up here. To understand strategies and voting in Oregon and across the nation. And so that is what we're hoping to do.
Hello, y'all. Thank you. So we're really pleased to be here because you are the folks that are going out in the community and making a huge difference in the future of a lot of folks here that need your support. So our aim is to arm you with as much information as we can that you can take back and continue the good work that you're doing. So what this portion is about, you probably know quite a bit about the whole process of registering to vote and voting in Oregon, but we just want to make sure you're all solid on it. So as you go out, we have 5 days left where you can still register people. If you have until the 16th, so if you can arm with as much as possible, you'll be able to go out and hopefully get a mess of people registered in the next 5 days, which would be really awesome, or as many as you possibly can. So you may know a lot of this. Hopefully some of it is new, or at least it's a good refresher so it's in your mind right now as you proceed. So in 1998, Oregon was the very first state to do elections statewide by mail, which is pretty cool considering how small we are in the scheme of things. So that was really good. And so that was one big thing. And what people can do is that as long as you get your ballot in the mail about 4 or 5 days before the date, which is the 6th, you're fine. If it's after that, check in your voter's pamphlet, because they have drop sites that are open all day and into the evening, so you can drop your ballot off. But the latest you can do it is at 8 o'clock in the evening on November 6th. So make sure people are aware of that. And make sure they know that if they can't drop it in the mail 5 days before, they can deliver it, because those drop sites are open not just Election Day. They're open for a week or so before. So there are options for people. But those deadlines are really important, because every vote really counts. Okay, so as of May 2017, we have motor voter, which means when you apply for a driver's license, or if you don't drive and you get an Oregon DMV ID card, you're automatically registered as a voter. And you, if you're, as soon as you turn 18 or you're older. And so the DMV sends that information on to elections, and then you receive a notice that says you are registered to vote. Okay. And the thing about that is you're not registered with any party. So like now, 2018, if people want to vote in a primary, your job is to contact the elections office, and they will tell you how to select a party if you want to. So up to you, because in Oregon we have closed primaries, so if you're not declared a member of one of the parties that are recognized in the state, you can vote for all the measures, you can vote for everything else, but anybody who has a party affiliation you cannot vote for. Okay. Other neat thing about motor voter is before, anytime you moved, you had to contact elections and you had to put in a change of address so that you would still get all your voting materials. Now, when you go to renew your license and you submit all your information for a new address, they automatically forward that. So it's really seamless. You continue to get your ballots and you don't have to worry about it or do anything about it. Okay. So important thing, and I said before, you can register to vote if you're qualified, but the last day you can register is 21 days before the upcoming election. So the election's November 6th, which means next Tuesday, October 16th, is the last day for anybody who wants to vote in November to be able to submit all their paperwork. People who have some kind of cognitive challenges are eligible to vote unless for some reason they're certified not able to. So just because you're differently abled and you may have some learning problems or it might take you a little longer to process, that does not disqualify you. You may vote unless there's some official process you've gone through that says you're not competent. So does that help you with your question? Yeah, okay. If in Oregon, and not all states are like this, a convicted felon can vote as long as they're no longer incarcerated. And a lot of people don't know that. So, you know, I'm not stereotyping, but I know people who fit that bill and may not know that they're eligible to vote. So if you know somebody like that, whomever they may be, and you think they would want to vote, please help them and encourage them. Okay. So if you don't go through Motor Voter and you're going online, and the rest of this, after I talk about this, tells you 3 ways to get your registration form online if you didn't get registered automatically with your license. Okay? So if you're going to go do that on your own, you need either your Oregon driver's license or your DMV ID, or a Social Security card if you don't happen to have those. Or if you don't have any of those 3, if you have a good photo ID, like if you're a college student, you have a photo ID with your picture and your name on it, that'll work. If you have government documents that say who you are and maybe have a picture on it, all those things will work if you don't have a license or an ID or a Social Security number and are a citizen and an Oregon resident.
All right, here's what I want you to do. On that sheet, I want you to take a moment and I want you to think. It is really tough to think this late in the afternoon, and we're cognizant of that. But here's what I want you to think about. How powerful are you? You know, we've been hearing about multiply the vote. We've been hearing about, you got to get out there and vote. You want to do that. My understanding from working with Jaime is that we were going to meet up with people that are very powerful in their community. Well, before we can go on, I want you to think a little bit about how important are you in this process. So on the back of that sheet, I want you to write, because we're all going to share, okay? I want you to write why you are powerful. So take 2 minutes, because we're going to do this very quickly. Why are you powerful in this decision-making time? And then I want you to think, is that power for good or for bad? It's important. That is very important. Is that power for good or for bad? Now, I know for some of you who are school, remember, might have not been here for the introduction, but we all are educators. And I taught middle school and high school. So I know that especially you younger people, you have a lot of power because you know how you would disrupt class sometimes. That was power. Tell me if that wasn't power. That was power, right? All it took was for you to do something and you had the attention of the class or the attention of your classmates, right? So you know you have power. So that last question is, do you have power for good or do you have power for bad? And I want you to think about what you wrote down, okay? I want you to think about what you wrote down. How does that power have anything to do with the knowledge you already possess about voting in Oregon? Look at those 3 statements, right? What power do you have in the knowledge that you have about voting in Oregon? What do you know about Oregon? Again, I go back to what Jaime told us. Jaime told us that we were coming to work with a group of people that were very knowledgeable, were willing to volunteer, were going to be advocates out there. He told us about you are people that are making a difference in this community. But I want to make sure that you know what kind of power you have. So if you don't think you've got power, we're in trouble. Right? We're in trouble not only as a people, but we're in trouble as individuals. What knowledge do you have about voting in Oregon that's going to empower you even more to be a leader in this community? Because you are a leader in this community. Whether you believe that or not, especially those of you who were in high school and could disrupt a class so easily, you have amazing power, right? So quickly, talk across the table with one of your people here and tell them how much knowledge do you have in voting and that power that you wield already. So today I know that you are very powerful. But what are you doing with that power? Exactly. If you don't do anything.
He's gone to city council, he's gone to school board, he's been doing a lot.
But that isn't enough. So let me tell you why it's not enough. Because if you don't have knowledge, that position means nothing because you can't contribute anything to that table other than sit there and, right? So you need to make sure that you've got some knowledge in order to be able to sit at that table and be somebody. All right, anybody care to share how powerful you are? I want to know who thinks they are powerful and are not ashamed to share with the rest of the group. Oh, I guess nobody is powerful? All right, Tony, how powerful are you?
I'm powerful because I'm a youth of color and youth listen to other youth, not adults.
Yes.
All right. Anybody else care to share why you're powerful?
Come on, ladies.
Why are you powerful? You're sitting there holding on to it. Let it go. Tell the rest of the group. If you can talk to these people who are nuestra gente, ¿verdad? Then you can say that to anybody at any time, right? Why are you powerful? Tell me. Diana.
Why am I powerful?
Why are you powerful?
I am radical. No, because I have a voice and I can advocate, especially with like the attacks on immigrants right now, without facing like fear of facing deportation or being separated from my family.
Amazing. Very powerful, right? And if you can articulate with the group that exact statement that you just shared with us, that makes you even more powerful, doesn't it? Somebody else, come on. Somebody else that feels powerful enough to share with the rest of the group. Before I pick on you, because I'm going to pick on that person that's just going like, she better not pick on me, she better not pick on me. She better not pick on me. All right, Edgar, you're up. Exactly. Why are you powerful? Why are you powerful? I didn't ask you, I asked Edgar. Don't bail him out, Damien.
I am powerful because I have a voice that other people can hear.
But if you have nothing to say, what are they going to listen to? Nothing.
Oh, hey, wait a minute, you didn't say that.
Right? No, I am saying that, Edgar.
I mean,
Edgar, is that true? You have nothing to say to them. So let me tell you about today. Jaime did tell us on you guys are very powerful. And you're a group to contend with. What we've got for you today is information that is going to give you even more power. Let me tell you why. Let me give you some experience on my end, right? When I was young, that was years and years ago, right? Our church got together and we were going to go to camp. Oh my God! I lived in the segundo in the barrio and we were going to go to camp. Woo. First experience, I lived in a time, I want you to listen to this. I lived in a time where they would not serve us in a restaurant. So you know what a Dairy Queen is, right?
Yeah.
We stopped off in this little itty bitty town in Texas called Van Horn. There was only one stoplight. One stoplight. Right? Itty bitty. We were in a bus on our way to camp. And guess what? We stopped off for lunch. Great, we stopped off for lunch. Those of us, because we were Presbyterian and everybody else was white, we were the only 5 kids that were brown. The counselor said, you know what, we're going to get down and eat, and you guys have to stay here in the bus. We saw the sign. This was 1970. How long ago was that? Quick, do the math. How long ago was that? Not very long, right? You know what? On the sign said, no shirt, no shoes, no Mexicans served. Now, I want you to think about the power that you have. We cannot go back to those days, can we? But how are you going to do that if you don't have knowledge? How do you defend yourself? Right? When they tell me you need to go home, back to your country, I'm a 3rd generation American. ¿Cómo que me voy a México? Voy a México y creen que soy ¿qué? Americana. ¿Cuántos de ustedes se han ido de vuelta a México y allá los tratan como que, ah, eres americano? Right? Here, our skin color always gives us away, right? So what do they ask you? What do you know about yourself, right? So why do you celebrate the 5 de Mayo? I don't know. Right? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? And the answer is, I don't know. So how do you think you get to defend yourself because you have power, remember? What do you have?
Power.
What do you have? Edgar?
Power.
Power. Right? How are you going to wield that power? Today, we are going to talk about Measure 105. What do you know about Measure 105? Damien, what do you know about Measure 105?
The police are going to work with ISIS.
And what are they going to do to us?
They'll deport us.
They're going to deport us. Right? How long have we been in a sanctuary city and state? How long? 31 years. Right? So we've got some activities that we want you to participate in because at the end of this session, I'm going to ask you again, what power do you have? How do you wield that power? And are you using it for good or for bad? Right?
So I'm going to talk a little bit about measures on the ballot. How many people are registered to vote and have gotten their voters pamphlet? Anybody get it? I just got it today. Yeah. So, and before that, I got one from Marion County. Did anybody get this one first? Yeah. The first thing I want to do is, this was from the county one. I want you to look at the measures. It starts in the middle, state measures, okay? And first thing, can anybody see how they're divided? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. How do they divide them there? Can you see? Anybody see any titles on the measures? Okay, if you look here, this first measure, 102, that was referred by the legislature. So there's 2 ways you get measures on the ballot. There's only these 5. One way is the legislature puts it on the ballot. So the people down at the Capitol building do it. The other 4 are done by initiative petition.
What does that mean?
Can somebody tell me what that means, initiative petition? Yeah, when they're standing outside on the street and they're having you sign it and they get enough signatures, then it goes on the ballot to vote. Okay?
So does that mean you've got power there?
Yeah.
Absolutely, right?
You can sign it, you can not sign it, you can be out getting people to sign it.
You can start one.
Yeah. Now, that's a good question. I think it's just majority. So there's 30 senators and there's 60 representatives in our state legislature. So I believe it only has to pass by a majority. But Sandra, I will check and make sure that it doesn't have to have more than that. So, okay. All right. How many of the measures, look again, how many amend the Constitution? How about 102, the first one? Does that amend the Constitution? Does anybody hear it? See where it says amends Constitution? 102, does that amend the Constitution? Yes. How about 103? Yes. How about 104?
Yes.
How about 105? No. And how about 106? Yes. Amending the Constitution means it's a permanent. So it goes into the Constitution of Oregon, and it is really hard once it's in the Constitution. So you should always look really carefully if it says amends the Constitution. Boy, really think about it, what it's going to do, because it's in there, and it's going to be really hard to get it out. So, okay, I think most of you know 105, talking when Pat asked you. This is the one that's doing away with Oregon sanctuary law, which we've had for over 30 years, 31, which was actually, police wanted this. It started in, but it started on I'm trying to think of the town, in the Independence area. And they found out that a man was stopped, and the police didn't want to have anything to do with it, and it was really, police supported it. And there is a lot of police support for not passing this measure. But I want to look at 102. just because I want people to think about the measures, because sometimes we don't know what they're about. So let's look at 102. Amends the Constitution, allows local bonds for financing affordable housing with non-governmental entities, requires voter approval, annual audits. Okay, I want you to look at the results of the yes and the results of the no. So just read through those and see if you can tell the difference. These two? No, how about you two? What's the difference?
The difference is that it's gonna be privatized, I think. And the other one's gonna say the government.
Yes, that's it. If you this allows the state government, Oregon's government, to give money to private institutions to help build affordable housing. So it's not just the government building the affordable housing, private people can too. So that's what the measure is. Personal stories are very important. If you are, I don't know if you guys here are going out on Saturday and working for 105, some of you over here, but personal stories have a lot of power with people. So if you're going out and working on 105, if you have something personal to say, I think it makes a big difference. I've gone canvassing on measures before, and if you tell something to them that is personal, I think it makes a big difference.
So I want you to think about what an apartment with 900 square feet is going for in Portland. Guess, wild guess. 900 square feet in Portland. I just looked this up. Oh, don't look it up. It's all right. That's smart though. What do you think it's going for? 900 square feet. How big is 900 square feet?
Not very.
Not big enough, right? 900 square feet. One more try. How much do you think it's going for?
1,300.
13?
Millions.
No, not millions. I'm asking you for rent.
Oh, rent.
Rent per month.
Oh, I thought property.
Close.
900 square foot house.
900 square feet rent.
Probably like 18,000.
You're getting closer.
1,800.
Keep going. 2001.
You're almost there. Actually, it's a little bit. It's $1,925. Now, here's what I want you to think. Again, the thread here is about how powerful are you, right? So let me tell you what I was sharing with this group over here. I said, when we don't think we are powerful, then there's nobody to blame but ourselves. So they were talking about, oh, well, we'll see. But I'm telling you, I'm not telling you which way to vote, but I want you to think about how you're voting, right? So down the road when we say, why were they taking advantage of us? They privatized it. All these people are asking us to pay $2,500 for 900 square feet, right? Who do they think they are, right? When we don't vote and we don't think through voting, who gave them the power?
We did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You gave them the power, right? So down the road cuando se creen tanto y que ya tienen casa y que nos van a cobrar esto, right? We can say that, right? What happens? If you don't think in the future, then who's giving them the power? You just gave them your power to do what they're going to do to you. Listen to that again. When you don't vote and you don't know enough about whether to vote yes or no, you are giving them power to do it to you. So again, I ask you, do you have power? Yes, right? You all have power. And the knowledge is the power. So when you talk to somebody, right? You're gonna say, hey, listen, I sit on this committee, right? Because you sit on how many committees? A lot, right? So they think you're valuable, right? But if you don't know your stuff, can you share with them, hey, listen, you gotta vote no. And then they'll ask you, what are you talking about? This is why you need to vote no. This is why you need to vote yes. Right? So that's your power. That is your power.
So two things about this. One is that in the voters pamphlet, they have arguments for and arguments against. And you can go online and get them. I believe in most of them I put down online voters pamphlet, Secretary of State. If you put in online voters pamphlet, Secretary of State, if you're interested, for example, in 105, you can go to 105, look at the arguments, and maybe there's one you like, and then you can just copy and take it out. So I think that it's a very powerful tool that you can use if you're not feeling comfortable about your own arguments. If you want to make yourself feel more powerful and have better arguments. Yes?
Can anyone create an argument in favor or against?
Anyone can and send it in. But it's done now. You can't put one in anymore because the voters pamphlet is it's in the mail.
So vamos a ver el poder, ¿verdad? Voy a
What does the state representatives do?
the what?
The state representatives, yeah.
What do they do? I don't know.
You really don't know? You guys can help me?
Anybody?
What do
He's
our
asking
state
a very good
representatives do?
question. What does a state representative do? Come on, somebody's got to know.
Oh, yeah, pero ¿qué hacen?
¿Qué hacen?
¿Qué es lo que hacen allá en el Capitolio?
What?
Tomar café.
Make laws
Okay,
That's
very
right.
good, they do.
They make the
Where,
laws.
where?
in the Capitol. Right.
Okay, and beyond that,
What else do they do?
Oh, they call it the legislature.
the state legislature? But what do your state representatives do?
What they make?
They listen to people and
And then,
they make laws on
where do they make laws?
the community. I don't know.
Remember what I just
Yeah.
asked? A state representative, right?
For the state.
So it's the same concept, but where are they making those laws?
The state level.
The state, they're making it. The state is making it
The
here.
state parallels the federal government,
Yeah.
so we have the same structure. So state representatives are making laws for who?
Oregon.
For you, but,
Oregonians.
and they're also
Oregonians.
doing it for what?
Corporations.
I'm saying state representatives,
State makes it only for Oregon.
Only for Oregon.
right?
Yeah. So they can make laws without it going to the ballot as well.
Yes.
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 Yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Your state representatives
So when you're
and your state
voting,
senators make laws and they can pass them and we don't get to vote on it. We get to vote on who they are,
But they get.
and they're all in your pamphlet, your voters pamphlet, and this pamphlet is only for Marion County, so they're all Marion County people that are running in our county.
so it's important that you as an Oregonian know how your representatives on the Electoral College get there,
Yes.
right? So if it's via the election, I better go out and vote, right? Because what happens to us sometimes is we only think, oh, I'm gonna go vote for the president, this one that I want for the president. But when the Electoral College, like in this case, right, this last election, the Electoral College is the one that put the president in place. Did you have something to do with it? Well, you did if you voted or didn't vote. Either way, you made a decision,
Yeah.
whether you voted or you didn't.
Yeah.
That's still a vote. If you didn't, it's still a vote, right?
Based on
The vote went to who? The other person, right? Because you didn't vote against them, right? Right? So, but on the popular vote, who won? The other person won in the popular vote by what? 3 million people,
Yeah.
right?
Gore and Bush.
Well, that was way closer.
So when you say, I'm only gonna vote at the time for a president, is that a little too late?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they sell us the idea that we have a democracy, but we have a representative democracy. So that means that
Exactly.
Very good, Sandra.
you vote for people that represent the best interest of you at the local level so that they can vote for the national person. But a lot of times people are so disempowered and so they have so many like barriers to voting that
Yeah.
we don't get to elect our local officials to represent us, and then those people make a difference in the elections.
Yes, very true. So think of it, when you say, I'm gonna sleep in and I'm not going to go vote. Are you voting?
No.
Yes, you are. You're voting. Yes, you are. I'll give you an example. Here we go. How many of you want to leave at 9 o'clock tonight?
9 o'clock?
Okay, I didn't see one single hand go up. Did you vote?
No.
Yes, you did. You voted.
How did you vote?
How did you vote?
No.
How did you do it?
You voted no by not raising your hand up, right? That's the same premise when you're voting and you don't go vote. You've just allowed something to happen to you, right, by not voting. But if I say, how many of you want to leave right now?
There you
Go
go.
ahead,
There you go.
right? 2 votes for yes, and the rest of you voted no. So who won?
The yeses.
The noes.
They didn't vote.
The yes or the no's?
The noes.
The no's won.
Oh, did they all raise their hands? I didn't see that.
No,
No.
only 2 people
She said
said
no.
yes, they wanted to leave right now.
Okay.
So then,
Okay, 3.
3, yeah.
So do you
And
see
Damien
how the
voted.
no vote, if you don't vote, it's still a vote?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So when you say, I'm not gonna go vote, did you just give your vote away? Again, are you powerful? Even if you don't vote, you are powerful, right? See how powerful you guys are? You're absolutely powerful. So if you vote, you're powerful. If you don't vote, are you powerful? Yes or no? You don't vote, you're still powerful, right? Why? Because you've impacted the other side. You gave them your vote. Remember what we said, right? When you don't vote, you've given them their side, right? For them to do things to us, right? One more time. When you don't vote, then you're telling them it's okay for you to do whatever you're going to do to me. This chart is based on who is the most restrictive in terms of voter registration and voter ID. How lucky are you in Oregon? Do you know how you get to be a registered voter?
16, 18.
Ah, very good. Once you get your driver's license, you're automatically what? Registered to vote. What do other people have to do in order to get registered? Take a look at that. Tell me which one's the toughest one to register.
A U.S. citizen.
Which one is the
Everybody has
toughest?
to be a citizen to vote.
Which state is the toughest to register?
But that's
Tennessee?
Which is the worst one? Which
When
one?
we say, I'm a voter in Texas or I'm a voter in Tennessee, it means something different, right? That's why I gave you that. It goes from the most restrictive, so Tennessee is the most restrictive, and then you go down to Oregon. Oregon is the most non-restrictive state, right? So I've given you information on that. So I want you to take a look at the next one, and that would be convicted felons. So let me ask you a question about this one. Who is jailed the most in our country? People of color. So if they strip you of your voting right, what's going to happen to you? That statement about they vote, they only vote, I didn't. Their vote is going to give them the power to do right to one. To anybody. It doesn't matter if you don't vote, right? So if you're a felon, you don't get to vote. But look at some states. Some states get it back when what? When you get out of jail, right? Do all of them?
No.
No. Right? Not all of them. Right? So if you're a felon, decisions are made for you, right? Because you don't get to vote, right? All right, so that leads me to the next thing. So let me tell you about a little story that you might be aware or not aware. You know, we have a new Supreme Court judge, don't we? Yes? Do you all know? What's his name? Brett Kavanaugh. Okay. Right. He's already voted on an issue. Do you know what that issue was? Any idea? The Supreme Court was going to listen to a case. The case was North Dakota. The lower court decided, they made a decision. And the decision was that if you did not have an ID that had your current address, you could not vote. Now, is that important to you? Think about it. Is it important to you? It isn't, right? But to those North Dakotans, yes. Do you know why? No, they do have IDs. Very good.
People that don't have addresses, permanent addresses.
So who? Homeless. Very good. So it impacted the homeless. So anything that could impact them, right? They can't vote on it. Who else do you think? It is about having a current ID with an address. Yes. Why? Why, Cindy?
Because they use PO boxes.
They use PO boxes.
And it's kind of like, I saw this post last night actually, that they were saying how someone was saying how they were the last people to be able to vote, and now it's like happening under everybody's noses that they're the first people that are taking away the right to vote, because that's what that does.
So if you live on the res, right, on the reservation, everybody knows where so-and-so lives, but they don't have a street or they don't have a street address, right? Tribal IDs don't have addresses. So what has it done to people in North Dakota? They've taken the power away from so many people, homeless and people on the reservation. Yes, Lynn.
This makes me think that when Pat was telling everybody, when you don't vote, you're voting, when the Supreme Court chose not to hear the case, they essentially said, we are not going to vote on this. So by not voting,
They voted.
they voted to deny these people the right to vote.
Is that because that's the state?
So does it matter if North Dakota wins or loses that in the Supreme Court? Should it matter to us, is what I'm asking. Why should it matter to you? It doesn't have anything to do with you.
Because other courts, judges look at what other judges have decided.
Okay, good, but think higher. The Supreme Court chose not to listen, not to hear that case.
It's probably going to happen to other states too. It's just
Exactly.
Yes, Cindy. Did you hear what Cindy said? So let's say that they did hear it, and the Supreme Court decides to say, all states, the law for the United States will be, if you do not have a current ID with an address, what will that do to people across the nation?
Voters suppress the vote.
Very good. Now, it's amazing that my friend Alex said, suppress the vote. Because I'm going to give you a sheet on voter suppression. Thank you. You made that easy for me, Alex. So I want you to take a look at that voter suppression. So how are they going to stop you from voting? This is this article. Yes? What surprised you about it? Did something surprise you about it? Anything? No? All right. So Alex, you and Damien present on number 1 now that you're experts?
That if you go to vote, make sure you have time to spare because the lines are big, and also pay attention if people politely tell you to just come back later.
Do you think that could happen in a state?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So, quick story about Texas, because now I'm back in Texas. I miss Oregon. I miss the weather, and I miss Oregon. So, in the area that I live, it's called a precinct. They decide to do a precinct. Now, back when, they used to have 5 places where you could vote in that precinct.
Now there's only one.
And it is a big area. So that discourages people, right? Because you're going to stand in line, and especially in Texas. It's so hot. And look at the line. I'm going home. Right? Not only that, I was telling them about IDs, right? So Cindy, share with them about number 2.
So she was saying how, like in Texas, like you have to take your voter registration and ID, and then on top of that, you have to take like the government issued ID, so like your license and all of that stuff. And we were talking about how it's really possible that that could happen here in Oregon because, as she was saying that the voting like process is easier here than in other states. So con más ganas they're gonna be like, oh, let's be more strict and have like a requirement of a government issue.
So Cindy brought up a very good point. Yes, it can happen, because my question to her is, can it happen here? Again, what just happened to North Dakota? Right? Homeless people can't vote, and neither can reservation people because of the ID that they don't have with a current address. Right? So it doesn't bother us because it's really just happening in North Dakota. But it can happen to us, right? When we don't know what else is going on across the nation, right? Number 3, who's got number 3? Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Alex and Damon. Luis?
So while polling places, while they've been known to be hassle-free environments, this election year, they might have people called unofficial poll observers who can attempt to question you and irritate you until you're asked to leave, or until you're irritated enough that you do leave. And that's illegal. In a way, that's like harassment. You have a right to vote, stand up for yourself, and do what you can do.
So you're still lucky in Oregon, huh? Why?
You don't have to go to a polling place.
Exactly.
Just
Do you want to make sure it stays that way? Yes, you've got a freedom right now, and you've got power right now. Not in Texas. If I forgot my ID, forget it. I'm not voting.
How do we make sure that they don't pass something through the state?
You stay knowledgeable. You stay on top of it.
Go lobby, you guys. You
Yes.
guys get together.
The
and you go.
conservatives, do they successfully pass stuff like that here in Oregon?
They could, but that's just how good you could do it too, right?
Yeah.
And if you live in the area, or you can send something in, you can go and testify at the legislature. I do it all the time. I grew up on a farm. I do a lot of stuff around farm things, saving farmland. And Pat and Lynn can tell you, I'm always down at the legislature testifying. And you just sign up. There's nothing to it. They have a
Sign-in sheet?
a sign-in sheet for whatever the law is, and you just go in and tell them what you think and why you think that, and anybody can do it.
And you can also, because you guys are united and you're part of LUS and other groups, you can go lobby your representatives. You can make an appointment and you can sit down with your representatives, go knowledgeable, go in a block, get a bunch of you to go and talk.
And, and some of you have a different representative, like my representative is Brian Clem.
And
You
mine's
have-
Teresa.
Teresa Leon.
Yeah.
Yes, we only
So
live a
if-
few blocks away from each other, right?
So you can go together and go
Probably a
see,
couple miles, yeah.
and see several representatives at the same time. And when you're together like that, it makes a difference. It gives you power. you feel more comfortable too.
Yeah.
If you've never done it before.
So again, are you powerful?
Yes.
Let's just say you guys decided tomorrow, we're gonna meet up at the legislature. When's the next one? And you say nothing. And you just sit there. Is somebody gonna notice you? What's that little group sitting back there? What are they doing? Right? So again, do you get the message that you're powerful? Even if you were to say nothing, they'd be looking at you and saying, what are they doing here? Right? You'd be powerful. You'd be very powerful. All right, Sandra, thank you, Luis. Sandra or Tony, I forgot, Tony, who's going to present as experts on the next one?
Well, if you're doing like last minute, like voting, whatever, make sure you check every single day that your polling site hasn't changed, you know?
Or gotten close.
Oh, yeah, or gotten closed, one of those two, because that would be bad news. And like if you're taking the bus or something, make sure, I mean, I don't know.
No, you're right.
No, you're right. You're right on it. You're right on it. Right? Right now, in Oregon, let me ask you this. What do you need to know? Where do you drop your vote?
You drop it off at a designated ballot box,
And where is that designated ballot box?
like the bus station or the grocery store.
So even not knowing where to drop off that vote, right? And it's the last minute. Oh my God, I forgot to vote.
It's 7:30.
And it's 7:30 and you go, oh, I missed it. Or it's 6:30 and you don't know, oh, where is the voting? Where can I drop off my vote, right? You're lucky though in Salem. You know why?
Did you just put it in the mailbox?
Well, 5 days ahead of it's less than 5 days.
It's 6:30 in the evening. It's 6:30 in the evening. What could you do? The what?
Isn't it end at 8?
Yeah, but where do you go? How do you find out where to go? If you have to drop
There's
it
a
off.
thing that comes in the mail that tells you where.
You can't find it.
You could also give it to someone to turn it in for you, huh?
Or you can.
Ah, come on, think.
S-
You can Google it.
But I don't have internet.
Good. Look at Edward. He's working on it.
You got a voter station?
You always
But
go
I
to the
can't find
courthouse.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you can't find your
Always
voter
go to
station?
the courthouse.
It's 6:30 and you can go to the courthouse
And
that
there is
last
a
day of
drop-off
voting.
by the-
And there is a drop-off on
by
Court
the
Street by the
You
courthouse.
can just drive right by
You
and the
get there before
guy,
8
you hold
o'clock.
out your ballot and the guy comes and takes it at you.
Yeah, all you do is hang
yeah,
out,
drop
park
it
in the
in the
last
Drive by
one.
and they come by and take it.
And then
So
you
now
watch
you
him
know
drop-
something,
watch-
right?
Watch him drop it in the box, just to be on the safe side.
You didn't know that one, did you? If you didn't learn anything else today, you've learned that if it's 6:30 in the evening, that last day of voting,
You know where to
you
go.
can hop in the car and actually drop off the your vote like this. Because there's always somebody there taking your vote. Right? There you go. All right. Who else? Yes, who else?
Number 5, inconsistent information about polling hours of operation. So polling sites open as early as 6 a.m. and close as late as 9 on election day. This is general, but every state chooses their time, their open hours. So you have to check local polling stations the morning of in case that they have not changed their time. So you have to check that morning because it can change even up to the last day.
So again, knowledge is power. You ever move, you better find out what the polling and all the information about voting, right? So that you
Like
can do
Tony
it.
says, ask often.
Ask often. Yes, Tony, very good. Ask often. Nancy or Yasmin?
Ours was on overhaul, abilifying campaign ads. So it was just saying besides seeing ads either online or on TV to make sure you're informed of the candidates that are showing. Because usually it's always negative on the other person that they're going against. So to make sure that you understand what issues they stand on, present and future.
Very good.
Well done.
Very, very, very good. Who's doing the last two? Thank you.
So we did a random voter purging. You want me to go over?
Sure.
Random voter purging, so it could be different things. I know there was a lot of, for example, there was a lot of, especially, well, not here in Oregon, but in other states, like I recall an incident, I think it happened in Brooklyn, New York, where a lot of electronics use a machine. They have inconsistencies, or there's some kind of electronic errors where the entire district or entire populace of people, like their votes just don't count anymore. And it could be tactical, it could be numerous different things where all of a sudden, if 90% of that population, the whole demographic is Democrat, and then boom, all of their votes disappear. Well, that can really sway a district or sway a certain thing to another, political opinion.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Who had the other one? Okay, so are you going to report on the second one? Or?
Yeah, so blatant intimidation, there's many different tactics. I'm sure, like I said, here in Oregon, I think we're blessed to be able to get on our ballots.
Yes.
A lot of this stuff comes in forms of just having a lot of police presence at those voting lines. They say it's for voter safety, but sometimes people can just be intimidated just by having the presence of really strong authority. And people just have guns out there, but you don't know, what kind of underlying sentiments they may have. One of the things, again, just to pick on the last election, but one of the things that stood out to me too was, and I shared with them, was just having candidates out in the line. People are just waiting in line to vote. Sometimes it takes 2-3 hours. In the last election, we had Bill Clinton shaking people's hands that were waiting in line to vote, which is illegal. It's just intimidation because there's people out there that don't have the mindset. They don't know what's going to happen. And having them out there, maybe if you are leaning a certain way or a different way, not just Bill Clinton, but just any candidate having them out there, you're not allowed to sway voters. They have their mandate.
Right.
That can be a form of intimidation of people.
Yeah. Right. So knowledge is power, and you've got the power. Right. All right.
I don't know who you're speaking to, but as an Anglo, I just want you to reach out to Anglo friends you have that are supportive and talk to them too, because they may not know about 105. So it's not only the Latino community that has concerns about this, but there's people like me that are very concerned about it. So I talk to those people too, because they vote also. So, and you can convince them because you know them, they're your friends, and you have the power to convince them and let them know how much this means. So, okay.
And like Cindy made a good point. Your story is so powerful to get allies outside of the community. And that's so critical. I mean, the farther the message gets, the better it is. And good stories.
Well, and they talked about talking to the city council. I mean, there are people in power and they want to hear what you say. They are concerned. You are part of their constituency too, and you vote. And by letting them know how you feel and that you have this, it convinces them. It changes their minds, and you can change people's minds.
So there's a lady that used to come to our rallies at the Capitol for like 15 years. This was several years back. And the lady will always say, a Mexicano lady. She was a resident, but she would always tell us. And she would always get out there and she would say, I am voting 11 times. And everybody was like, oh, please don't do that.
Don't do that.
I can vote, but I have 5 sons and 6 nephews and nieces.
So that's why they 11.
And I guarantee each one had to show me their ballot. I vote 11 times.
I love that. What a great story.
A few years ago, the state of Oregon started a pilot program where you can go online in some counties and you can sign up for them to inform you where your ballot is in the process. And it's free. And I looked up whole county and I couldn't find anything. I looked up Lynn Benton because I wasn't sure where people were coming from. I couldn't find anything. But here in Marion County and also Multnomah County, they are doing the pilot program still. So I've got information from both counties for you. And what happens is they'll tell you, they told me when that my voter pamphlet was in the mail. They'll send me another email, and you can get it on your phone too if you want. You know. They'll send me another email or text that says your actual voting ballot is in the mail. Then I'll get another one that says we've received your ballot and we're processing it. Then I'll get another one that says we've processed it, your ballot has gone through legitimately. So I know it's there every step of the way. I know stuff is coming to me that doesn't show up. I can go say, you know, I never got my voter pamphlet. But I know ahead of time to do that. So really easy thing to do. Takes about 2.5 minutes to sign up. So does anybody need Marion, Multnomah County? Anybody from? So just Marion will work for you guys? Okay. So grab one and share that because it's really great. You know what's happening. You don't have to worry about your ballot getting lost. So always makes me feel better because I always wondered if everything went where it's supposed to.
I hope that one of the things that you take away from tonight, if nothing else, is how powerful you each are as an individual. And you can make a difference, and you can multiply that vote by just the knowledge that you have. Just like Edward was saying, you know, okay, what can I tell people about how late they can turn in their vote, right? When they've given up on something like that. I also had Cindy who asked, if you could pass those down. I also had Cindy who said, listen, how can we get a measure on there, right? And I said, we've actually taught that. So down here on the evaluation piece, it says additional comments. If you want something else for either Eduardo or Jaime or them to bring to the Institute that would empower you more to be a solid group that can make a difference in the community, let us know. I speak on behalf of the three ladies, us two, all three of us. It has been a pleasure. We've worked hard to get the information together. We realized it was fast and a lot of information, but we're hoping that you at least take one thing with you. So thank you very much for your time this evening.
Let's hear it, guys. We want to thank you, Kathleen, Lynn, and Patricia, for taking the time. And I know it was a lot of time to put this presentation. If you had ever been trying to do a paper that is, you know, more than 10 pages long, or you ever tried to put a 2-hour presentation, imagine when you started with 4 hours presentation and then you told that you had to reduce it to 2.5 hours. That's what these three professionals who call themselves retired, which I do not believe.
No, what was that word?
Did.
Redirected.
Redirected. You know, so I'm very humble on behalf of Capaces Institute, Leadership Institute. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. This is a very decisive moment for the Latino community, for our state, and for our nation. Truly, it is. Some of us who are over 60, we understand that very well.
Yeah.
Some of us who are over 60 and look like I look, a black Puerto Rican man, can tell you all the battles that the people that came before us had to fight for us to be able to sit here tonight in safety, not hiding, okay, but in safety, exercising our civic duty. The Capaces Institute is committed to get the Latino community to be represented at the institutions that govern us, that represent but we are not present in those institutions. Some of you were at that presentation at the school board a month ago, and you saw what happened, like you weren't there. It's the same thing that happened to us on July 13, 1999, when we formed the Salem Kaiser Coalition for Equality, and we went in front of the school board, and it's like, hello, who's there? We don't see anyone. We can't hear anything. 20 years later. So I want to thank you all for taking this time on behalf of all the staff and all the organizers of Capaces and our movement. You know, we are here. We are trying to educate Latinos and Latinas to be knowledgeable about their rights and about what they can do, and that they do have power to decide to exercise it. Thank you so much, and we'll see.